What is happening, people? Welcome back. Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast here, and we've got some breaking news just before coming on air about Conor Gallagher. With Tottenham expected to sign him. We've heard different stories with him today. At one point, going to Atletico Madrid, then Chelsea are interested. So, as far as Gallagher's concerned, I mean, if you believe all the rumours, he'd be going to a load of different places. Looks like Tottenham, as things stand, a major breaking news coming from the likes of David Alstein, I believe, is the first to drop it. So, we'll be talking about that. But the main point of this podcast is to review the Aston Villa defeat as Tottenham get knocked out of the third round of the FA Cup. Sold the dream that we could compete on all four fronts, now just on two fronts, and struggling in particular on one of them with the Premier League. So a lot to discuss, whether it be Frank's future on the game as a whole, with it bubbling over at the end, and of course this breaking news, which we will begin with. But let's introduce my panel. Charlie, thank you very much for coming on. Firstly, how are you doing, and remind people how old you are.
Harry, thank you for having me on tonight. I'm 14. Love to come on the podcast, though. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm excited for tonight's podcast. I mean, normally I don't like making videos when everything's so negative and things are not going well. But, Harry, we obviously made a video last night that's set to come out tomorrow. I think you're all going to love it. On Thomas Frank, it's tough to be a Spurs fan right now, but as Ruben Amorim said to the Manchester United fans at the end of last season, and I feel it for Tottenham, the good days are coming.
Love that. Thank you. And yes, me and Charlie sat down yesterday for what's called the Frank debate. So me being the one that is still behind Thomas Frank and Charlie being the other end of the spectrum. So that should be really good. 12:30 p.m. It's dropping on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. That was a good one. We planned to go for half an hour, and it went for 51, 52 minutes in the end. So we got through a lot.
We could have gone on for another hour. I'm telling you.
We could have. Yeah, we covered a lot. I think we're fair, we're balanced, sensible. And no, I think we, put a lot across, let's just say. So we'll leave that for viewers to decide what they thought and how they feel as well, whether we influence their decision or not, and for them to get involved. Charlie, thank you very much for your time once again. Pleasure to be speaking to you twice in quick concession. Phil, thank you very much for coming on and joining us from Frankfurt, Germany. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, Harry. It's a pleasure. And it's always nice to see old faces. Dustin, good to see you. And also new faces, Charlie. Loving the positivity as well there, which is good to see. It's obviously been tough times for us pretty much all season, hasn't it, really? Since the high of winning Europa League and then kind of coming into this. So, but yeah, looking forward to having some good discussion tonight on where we are, and Thomas Frank as well. And obviously this breaking news is quite a nice surprise, actually. I don't think anyone was really expecting that.
No worries at all. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on. And nobody did expect it, as you said. So a big talking point. Dustin, thank you very much as well for coming on, joining us from Singapore. If I'm not mistaken, 3 a.m. there, but how are you doing?
All right. I woke up for this.
That's early start. But Dustin, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. And introducing our fourth and final guest for tonight, Tobs. How you doing? Thank you very much for coming on, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, man. I thought you were asking how am I doing? I was doing well before I joined the show, and then I seen the breaking news, and I'm not doing so well. So let's get into it, bro.
Tobes, I'm not feeling too good about it either. Ex-Chelsea captain.
It's not even just that. He's just not good enough. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough.
We could definitely start with that. Absolutely.
We can get into it.
Yeah, we will. No, 100%. Thank you for mentioning that there. And thank you to everyone coming in today. If you're listening live, please do get involved. If you're new on YouTube, though, please do subscribe. If you're listening via audio podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Tobes, we'll start with you if you don't mind. So you've given your brief thoughts there on Conor Gallagher. Dive deeper. Why don't you want to see him at Tottenham? Because, just to reference, we did get some breaking news, and that major breaking news is that Tottenham are closing in on a deal to sign Conor Gallagher in a deal just under 40 million euros. It's expected to be accepted instantly as well, which tells you, of course, they're happy with the deal. So, Tobes, give us your thoughts.
I think it's a shambles of a move, if I'm being honest. And I don't say this to say that Conor Gallagher is a terrible player. This isn't the first time. This isn't the second time. This is not even the third time we've been linked with this guy. The club have had a long vested interest in this player for about the last 2, 3, possibly even 4 years now. But every single time I feel like we've made the right decision by not signing him, we go and hamper our midfield with another dodgy decision. Now, the reason why I think Conor Gallagher is a shocking signing for Tottenham, and again, I have to emphasize, he is not a shocking player, but for me, he is a bang average player at the level that we're aspiring to be. Yeah. Conor Gallagher, his strengths, very tenacious off the ball, decent tackler, and he's got a decent eye for goals. So if he gets further forward, he can contribute for goals. But my thing is, when you watch Tottenham play this season, when you've watched Tottenham play the last 3, 4, 5 years, what has been the key disruptor in the midfield? It's been someone who can pass the ball. And I'm not just talking about someone who can pass the ball when there's no pressure. It's someone who can pass the ball under duress. For whatever reason, this club, it's like they purposely go out of their way to sign every type of midfielder they can possibly sign, apart from someone who actually wants to play with the ball in midfield. It makes no sense to me. We've been doing it for 10 years. Since Moussa Dembele is the last, Moussa Dembele and I would say maybe Ndombele, right? Those are the only 2 players I think Tottenham have signed over the last 10 odd years where the midfielder is exceptional at progressing the ball. Dembele did it through his dribbling, and Ndombele could do it through his passing, but Ndombele was a complete flop. Cool. But I'm talking about someone who can play at the base of the midfield or as a central midfielder, get on the ball and make things happen, right? Not just someone who just makes five-yard progressive passes or someone who sweeps up or someone who wins duels. No, get us someone who's ultra comfortable with the ball at their feet under pressure. Someone who's going to play the ball through the lines and find our attackers when they're under duress, when the opposition has a deep block. We have no one in the team at that part of the pitch that's capable of unlocking defenses, which is why you see the manager, terrible tactics, by the way, but the manager over-relies on Pedro Porro, over-relies on Romero, over-relies on Mickey van der Ven to be the source of penetration, to get the ball into Simmons, to get the ball into the attackers, because our midfielders can't do it. The players that we have that can do it on occasion, i.e. Bergvall and Gray, they're too young. They're inexperienced. They're not going to be able to give you the quality. And then the players that are experienced, they're just not good enough to do it. Palhinha has scored goals for Tottenham. He's fantastic when it comes to winning duels off the ball, tackling. But his weakness was glaringly obvious before we signed him. And a lot of Spurs fans called it, me included. He's not a strong passer of the ball. So when we're playing up against teams where we're going to have a lot more of the ball, we need midfielders who can not just pass the ball forward, but can pass the ball with speed. Bentancur, he's not a strong passer of the ball. And his passing is even gone. His passing wasn't even good to begin with, but it's got worse under Thomas Frank. Bissouma, not a strong passer. So who in that team is going to take responsibility at the base of the midfield to get play initiated? Nobody. And now Bentancur's out for 3 months. It presented us with an opportunity to do something we should have done in the summer, but we're now forced to do it in January because of the 3-month injury. It's presented us with an opportunity to be sensible. Look at the profile of midfielders you have. Sarr, not a passer. Bentancur, not a strong passer. Palhinha, not a strong passer. Gray, not a strong passer. Bergvall, not a strong passer. Who in our team is known for getting on the ball and spraying? Every single top team in the Premier League has at least one midfielder capable of doing these things to a high standard. Arsenal have Zubimendi. If not Zubimendi, Rice is there. Both better passers than completely better passers than anyone we have at the base. Chelsea have Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, right? Man City have Rodri. They have Nico Gonzalez. Manchester United, even Bruno Fernandes can pull strings from deep, even though he's a turnover demon, right? Liverpool have McAllister. Okay, he's been out of form this season, but he's someone who gets on the ball, he can pass it. Who's Tottenham's midfielder that's going to get on the ball and spray the pass? Every single time, it's like the club, they just they make sorry to be so passionate about this and go on for so long, but I'm fed up of it. I'm so fed up of the way they build their squad, because it's not the right way to build a football squad. You look at our team already has profiles like Conor Gallagher. If we wanted another hatchet man, we already have Palhinha. Palhinha scored 4 goals this season in the Premier League, hasn't he? 3 or 4, I think it's like 3 or 4 goals he scored in the Premier League this season. He scored in the Champions League this season. That's a goal scorer midfielder who can defend. And yet our midfielder is still suffering. Why is that? So Conor Gallagher, that's coming into the team to essentially do something similar, more known for what you do off the ball, with the running, with the energy, and then when you get on the ball, you can make runs into the box. How is that helping us? We've already got that profile in Palhinha. Last season, we had Sarr, who was doing something similar to what Conor Gallagher is probably going to be brought in to do. Of course, you can argue Conor Gallagher's whether he's better than Sarr or not, but my point is the profiles are too similar. How many of these midfielders who are so average at so many things and are so subpar at passing do we want to stockpile this team with? It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. It's just a terrible way to build a squad, honestly. And now we're going to lumber ourselves with this signing on a permanent transfer after giving Bentancur a new deal that we shouldn't have given him how many months ago? How many midfielders do we want to lumber ourselves with who cannot do the basics that we need in possession? It makes no sense.
Okay, Tobes, thank you very much. You make some really good points. And as much as I'm happy to just see someone come through the door, and I think, surely something's better than nothing, you're right. And I think the point's interesting that he's very similar to Sarr. I do think that. I look at Gallagher and go, we've kind of already got that when Sarr does come back. I think there's other areas at midfield that we could have targeted. But just go through a couple of comments. Spurs TV says, in his opinion, that Gallagher is an excellent signing. He says only 34 million GDP will offer leadership in the middle, and we'll get control of the central midfield. No brainer at that price. There we go. So, David's saying that he's going to go to Aston Villa. Well, you're right earlier on, but there's been more news since. I mean, he's been meant to go to so many different clubs today. Villa, then I heard a rumour back to Chelsea. But David Alstein with the latest saying here that it looks like to Tottenham is going to happen. Thank you very much, Topes, your passionate thoughts there. I think a lot of people agree with that. Philip, can I come to you? What are your thoughts on this news? You mentioned it, when in the back room talking to me beforehand. That's the first thing you mentioned. So I'm assuming you've got something to say on this.
Yeah. I respect the comments, from before. And I agree with elements of that as well. In terms of building a squad, in terms of needing, better passers overall, in our midfield and in our team anyways, right? What I would say is I saw that price there. I mean, supposedly it's 39 million euros, what they're saying at the moment. So that is about 32, 33 million pounds. He's 25 years old. He's still an England international. He's a Londoner. Yeah, I know he's Chelsea. I know he's, captain Chelsea. His family's all Chelsea. But he's a London lad. He lives in London. He knows the Premier League. He's played abroad in Spain as well. He's got leadership qualities for sure. In fact, I would say straight away, he's probably if he comes into the midfield, he'll bring in more leadership straight away into that midfield than we have at the moment. And he's a Londoner, right? He's British. He brings a bit of he just brings something different into there as well. I agree that he's not like some of those players that you mentioned, before the Tobes on there, right? Like he's not like that, and we probably need to be looking, anyways, at one level or two levels higher, right? Let's say, well, short term and middle term. We've been talking about the likes of Adam Wharton. There's been other kind of centre midfielders potentially on that same kind of level, that are like real game changers. I would say realistically, probably January's not not the time to do an 80, 90, 100 million pound deal at the moment. I don't think any of those teams are going to kind of let their players go. And to be honest, probably looking at the mess that we're in a bit at the moment, it might even be difficult to get some players realistically to come and join us right now, rather than wait till the summer. Looking at what's going on, we don't have a sporting director, really. You know, who knows what's happening with the manager, whether the board are going to stick with him and back him through thick and thin, even if he loses against West Ham, Dortmund, Eintracht Frankfurt coming up as well, right? We need to win one of those. We have no idea, to be honest, what's going to happen. We have no communication from the board. There's going to be protests this weekend again, big ones. So, like, no one really knows. So I could imagine that anyway, like, if we want to make big signings, right, on the top level, it's difficult. But I actually think that Conor Gallagher is a really, really good signing if we get across the line. I think he comes in straight away. I think he improves our midfield actually significantly from one day to the next. And I think our midfield has been the biggest problem that Frank has had in terms of getting balance in the team, in terms of getting the positioning on the pitch. Palhinha, I like Palhinha, but I know he played really, really well, like second half, you know, at the weekend against Villa. But, you know, I was questioning whether he's also the right quality for us moving forward, because, you know, he's not very mobile generally, you know, like he's a good DM. I actually like Palhinha at the weekend because he was actually kind of coming forwards and stuff and just throwing himself all over the pitch without much positional discipline. But I think if you're trying to build a midfield, I still question whether Palhinha, whether we'll actually sign him permanently in the summer. I think it will also depend on who the manager is. But Gallagher comes in there and he can sit, you know, Archie Gray, players like that can learn from him. I think Gallagher's a better player than Sarr, if I'm being honest. I think Sarr has the ability still to get to a higher level. You know, Sarr's only, 21, 22. He's played in multiple different positions under Frank, under Ange, you know, the 8 role, box to box, kind of a bit the number 10. And then sometimes we don't really know what Sarr's playing, you know, but like Sarr's still got a level to go up, I think. But, you know, and I like Sarr, but I would say that Gallagher is a better player than Sarr straight away. And Bentancur, anyways, look, I don't know why we offered him a new deal. I think Bentancur, personally, I know he's had a couple of good games this season, but I think he's levels below where he was, you know, before he got his injury. He's neither a progressive passer, he's neither a defensive midfielder. He's something in the middle, but not very good, in my opinion, anymore at any of them. Really, he's a bit of a muchness in there, Bentancur, and I can only assume personally, I think that we gave him a new contract to have him as a player this season and see how he does, but then also have a sell-on value, you know, this summer. And I would imagine still that we'll get rid of Bentancur this summer. So look, I think in my opinion, I think Conor Gallagher, you know, he's not a sexy signing in terms of, you know, he's going to go in there and he's like all singing, dancing, even like Morgan Gibbs-White, you know, defensive playmaker, which is what Frank wanted in the summer, which we didn't get. Elliot Anderson, you know, players like that, I think they're probably out of reach. And for 34 million for someone like Conor Gallagher, who knows the Premier League, you know, he's a fighter. He is a leader, right? You know, he'll offer leadership, and that's what we need. For 34 million with a sell-on value as well, right? Depending what happens, how he gets on over the next 2 years. I think that's a no-brainer, but I can understand why some fans.
Please. Sorry, because
of course
you're saying he's a leader. What's the evidence for that? Because he captained Chelsea, like 2 or 3 games. What's the evidence of him being a leader? Who is he? Who is he to come in amongst this group of players and lead? I've never seen any sort of leadership traits in Conor Gallagher. When I've watched him in a lot of Premier League games, he hides in the midfield. When he's played for Chelsea, he hid in several matches. And we're talking about, okay, cool, we're talking about resale value. I think I'm not going to be naive enough to say that resale value should not be a factor when you're looking at signing a player, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be one of the key factors. This is an issue that we've had for. I've just explained it. coming up to a decade. The solutions that we're putting into this position, they need to be long-term solutions that we believe they're going to be at the club for the long term. So for me, signing someone who does not fulfill the base criteria you need is a nonsense signing. I'm sorry. It's a completely redundant signing. It does not matter if he's better than Bentancur. It does not matter if he's better than Bergvall. And I think we as fans need to get out of that mindset of, because player A is not good enough and player B is better than player B, player A, let's go for player A. We need to ask ourselves the question, does he fulfill the critical obligation we need of our midfielders playing in that position? When you watch the games we've played with Bentancur this season and Palhinha this season, what has been our biggest frustration? It's that we don't play through the midfield. And we're signing another midfielder who, okay, he's more mobile than Palhinha, but so what? The issue is he doesn't pass the ball well enough. So when we're talking about the type of signings the club should make, there's not a single criteria you've just listed that is justifiable to sign this player. There isn't. There absolutely isn't. And we'll be having the same conversation in 3-4 years' time as to why we have players in this team, who could do a job on occasion, who could score a goal here or there, but fundamentally does not fulfill our needs. And we know that if he gets signed permanently, he's going to play a lion's share of minutes. He's going to play a lion's share of minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming back on that. Tobs, going to ask you before we go around the panel, who do you want to see Tottenham go for on this window? Let's say it doesn't go through, or you're saying you don't want Gallagher. Who else in this window? I think you're right to say we need players that can play those through balls. Been a big issue this year. Play those passes and really just do a lot better than we currently have. But who does that is realistic and is likely to happen in your view?
Listen, the players that can do that to a strong standard in the Premier League, they're going to cost a premium. So this is where I want the club to put their money where their mouth is, because this is a profile gap that existed since the summer. This is a gap that should have been addressed in the summer. It wasn't addressed. So it's either you put money up for the known quantities who are perhaps out of Tottenham's range, and you go ambitious and you throw money at them. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to sign them, but try and tempt Crystal Palace, try and tempt Nottingham Forest. Again, pipe dream, but try and do it. If that's not possible, then rely on what you keep telling us you're using and you've used for years. Data. I can literally go on Y-Scout. I can go on FB Ref. I can go on so many applications right now, and I can look at the data, and the data will tell me categorically Conor Gallagher is not a good passer of this football relative to our needs. So that's what I want the club to do. If you can't spend the serious cash needed to sign the known quantities, then go and do some serious scouting and get us a relatively unknown quantity. Mickey van der Ven was an unknown quantity. Look how he's turned out, right? Look how he's turned out, right? When we signed Romero was Serie A Defender of the Year, but he wasn't really a known quantity in the Premier League, right? This is where scouting matters. This is where scouting matters. I'm sorry. Conor Gallagher is lazy, but because he's homegrown and because he's 25 years old and because he's played for Chelsea, let's go sign him and sign him permanently.
I agree we can be more ambitious. I think these owners lack all the ambition. They're given a new opportunity because it's a slightly new look board away from Gallagher. And I just think it's the same ambition, which is little to no existence, the same mistakes. They are lazy. I'll give you that. Definitely.
Can I just say one very quick point, though?
Yes.
Like, I mean, at some point, we do have to build a squad, though. Right? And, if Gallagher comes in and plays minutes the rest of the season, he brings some of those attributes that we mentioned before, but we do need to build a squad, right? Or rebuild a squad that has options in the middle. If you don't have a Palhinha, if you don't have a Bentancur, if you don't have someone else next to there, like, again, I would assume that we were still trying to get the kind of players like Adam Wharton, right? Or who else are we talking about? Again, whether it's Nelly Anderson, we're probably looking at younger up and coming players, which we have been anyways the last seasons, right? I'd like to think that we'd get another, like a Bergvall kind of player, but maybe that fits a bit more that kind of progressive, passing model as well. So like, I get your point, like, Tobs. I agree with you as well. I agree with you, by the way. But like, right now, maybe we don't have. I say it's not like we don't have a choice. So like, but I think that this is a deal that's probably come up as an opportunity to do, and for 33, 34 million, assuming that we're still going after other players potentially, then he certainly adds to the squad, right? Also in the middle term. If we get rid of the likes of Bentancur, because he's certainly good enough to play as he's certainly good enough to play for Tottenham, right? And he's certainly good enough to be part of a squad. If you look at, the likes of how Arsenal have built their squad, the options that they've got in midfield, Conor Gallagher is a proper Premier League player at the end of the day. Let's be honest. I mean, he's not a bad player, right? He's energetic. No. But like he brings stuff in straight away, like just through his energy and his biting in midfield. Like we've got Sarr and some. Well,
sorry, Phil.
I would debate that we have that fully. To be honest, at the moment,
I think we've got that in some players. I think what's lacking is the quality. You can have all the bite you want, you can have all the aggression you want.
Yeah.
If you don't have the quality to impose yourself, especially in high pressure games, we didn't have anyone on the pitch. Look at the game on the weekend. We played Aston Villa. We didn't have anyone on the pitch who could pass the ball like Tielemans. We didn't have anyone on the pitch in the base of the midfield who could pass the ball like Tielemans. No. We didn't. Someone who gets the ball, bang, the ball's gone. Even McGinn is not even like
McGinn's better than what we have. McGinn is more effective. He's more effective.
I agree, but that's the point I was getting to. That's the point I was getting to. Even McGinn is not even like a world beater. McGinn is like a good, solid Premier League player, but he's a better passer of the ball than Palhinha and Bentancur. He's a better passer of the ball than Bissouma. My point to you is, you're saying we need to build a squad. I hear you. Absolutely, I hear you. But my problem is, if you keep building your squad with squad players, eventually you're going to have a squad of squad players. When do we go out and buy starting caliber players? And I'm not just talking starting caliber players for us right now. I'm talking starting caliber players where I can pit you up against the teams that we're actually trying to compete with, and you can tussle. Because there's no point in bringing
that's what we should have done in the summer. We should have done it in the summer before.
We need quality players. We've got squad players. Bentancur, Palhinha, they are squad players. I think Palhinha is quite good. Bentancur, he's a squad player. We need some proper quality in that midfield. Tobs, I completely agree with you. Conor Gallagher is not who we need. I'm mixed about this signing. Ex-Chelsea, good runner, but I don't think we need a good runner. We need someone like McAllister who gets that ball and gets it forward. Premier League, we are bottom for through balls. It's embarrassing. We are embarrassing. Now we're signing Conor Gallagher. It's not it. We need someone who's quality, not a squad player. Like you said, Tobs, a squad of squad players. We don't need a squad of squad players. We need squad players on the bench. Players like Bentancur on the bench, who if we get an injury, maybe they come in, or maybe last 20 minutes they come in and they can make a small impact. But not right now. We don't need squad players. We need proper players who are going to come in and do a really, really good job and try and salvage something out of the season. European football, because I expect as a minimum for every single season. Remember that first year under Ange where we had no European football after the shocking season where we came 8th. And, it was just boring, no football in midweek. We played like 40 games that season. You look at Ange's second season, we played nearly 60 games.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So you're split then, you're saying there, Charlie, on the signing of Conor Gallagher. It's interesting to see that you are kind of split. I mean, do you agree also that he is similar to like Sarr? That's been mentioned a couple of times tonight. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree. He is a runner. He is a workhorse. And, every team needs a player like that. But I wrote on my board here, we've already got a player like that. We don't need another Sarr, We've got someone who can run and do a good job. And I wonder, maybe, this is a bit of a panic buy. I'm someone who plays Football Manager. And if I see, a player who is decent, who's probably, their asking fee is a lot less than how good they are. So they say, their market value is 50 million and I could buy them for 35 million. I'm straight onto it. I'm buying them. I wonder if we've sort of done that. I don't think we need to do that as of right now. It's about resale value. But then you say resale value. This isn't a business. This is a football club. And now we come on to the owners. I also put down maybe, is this a sign of Mauricio Pochettino? Remember, one of the reasons he left Chelsea, they had that big disagreement at the end, is because they were split about Conor Gallagher. Chelsea wanted to sell him because they get all the profit, because he is a homegrown player from their academy. And, they got good money from Atletico Madrid. But Poch was like, no, I need Conor Gallagher. He's going to be good for my system. Maybe they're saying, look, Poch, we're going to bring Conor Gallagher at the end of the season. You come back. I don't think it's all there with Thomas Frank. But I'll be honest, the value it is good. I just don't think we need it. And another thing, why on earth would Conor Gallagher join us over Aston Villa? Aston Villa are a team who pack out the midfield. Yes, they'd have 7 midfielders if they got him, but they'd use him. He'd get the game time. They're much higher than us in the league. We're not going to win anything this season. Villa could win the Europa League. I don't understand that. I mean, what else did I put? I put the buying a player we have, and why is Frank not playing João Palhinha? Because I think he's such a top player, and I think maybe a player like Gallagher next to Palhinha, he could do an okay job. I don't think he'd do the best job. I think someone like McAllister would be proper good next to him. We need a player like that who will progress the ball. Conor Gallagher is not a pass to the ball. Tobs, I completely agree with you. But, the big but, I don't think we should be too upset about signing him. I think we've got to give him a chance. He isn't a bad player. He's not a player.
We do this all the time. I'm sorry, bro. We do this all the time. Respect to you, love to you. I don't know how you, I think you said you're 14, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm 33 years old, right? Once upon a time, I was like you, where I'd say, okay, you know what? Give it a chance. No, I don't have the patience for it anymore. I'm sorry. I don't have the patience or tolerance for seeing the club purposely sidestep their mission and go and get players that we know he's not at the level. We actually know it. It's there. The data tells you he's not at the level to play the role that you need. Not the role that he's playing alongside Bergvall. Great. No, the role that you need of a midfielder. We know he's not at the level. So when I hear stuff like, oh, we need to give him a chance. No, we don't. Because we know how it's going to end. The same way it's happened with Palhinha. The same way it's happened with Bentancur on a new contract. We know how it ends. That's my issue. We know how it ends.
Tobes, I've got a question for you. What if he does well? What if in 3 years' time we're speaking, wow, I'm so glad we signed Conor Gallagher. He's done so well. Then what are you going to say? Because,
Then I take back my words. And I'll sit and I'll hold my hands up. And my problem is
that's very, very fair.
My problem is I don't expect that.
Tobes,
there's no trajectory that's going to happen.
Completely disagree with you is that we have to get behind him. And David Ornstein's report, let's say, we get off this stream and we get the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, he's going to be a Tottenham player. All you're going to say is just keep criticising. We've got to get over this,
No, we don't. I'm sorry.
If he does bad, we sell him because they're signing him clearly for resale value, what you're trying to say.
We may sign that. Apparently, there's rumours still linking us with other attacking centre midfielders or kind of 8s and 10s. Okay, we're not going to give the club the benefit of the doubt based on what they've done over the last year in terms of signings. But we don't know for a fact that Conor Gallagher is the only midfielder that we're bringing in. We don't know that right at this point, right?
We don't even know if this is going to go completely through because it's one report.
It might not.
Yeah. So, but if he does come to Tottenham, we do have to give him a chance. Even though it is not our decision and we have to get behind. If he does bad, I'm willing to come in here, Tobes, and join you and criticise him that it isn't good enough and that it's the board's fault and that we shouldn't be signing these players who just aren't at the level of Tottenham. I completely get where you're coming from, but it's going to happen. We've got to get behind him. And at the end of the day, I think if Pochettino's Conor Gallagher's at Tottenham, he's going to be like, I want to come. I want to coach Tottenham. They got a player I liked and I love the club. I can't. It could be good. It could be good. Let's not write him off yet. Let's not write him off. This could be a really strong signing.
But I don't. It's not writing off somebody to tell the truth. That's not writing him off. It's telling the truth. No, I'm
It
not
is, it
calling
is,
him a
and
bad. I'm not calling him a bad player, but we're telling the truth. It's like
you're
Palhinha
right.
in the summer when people said, okay, you know what, we will take him, but he doesn't solve the problem that we have when it comes to progressing the ball through the midfield, and it's been laid bare this season.
Well, Palhinha, we didn't sign to progress the ball. Palhinha we brought in for the tackles to be that holding
But
player.
that's
And
my
he's done
point.
a
I'm
really,
not saying that
he's
he
done a
was signed.
really, really good job
I'm
at
not
that.
saying that he
And
was signed for that.
this is
I'm
why
saying that
I'm so
the
against
club
Thomas Frank
knew they
because
needed
he
to
just
sign a
won't start
midfielder
him. I
who could
don't get
pass.
it.
The club knew they needed to sign a midfielder who could pass in the summer. They
Yeah.
gave us Palhinha. Now we're another bite at the apple to sign a midfielder who can pass, and they're giving us Gallagher. How many midfielders who can't pass are they going to give us before we actually understand that they are incapable of building a squad?
Tobes, I don't think we signed Palhinha to be a passer. We signed him to sit in front of that defence. He's done a good job at that.
I didn't
Gallagher,
say
I get
we
what you're
signed
saying.
him.
We need a passer and we've signed a runner. I don't understand that. We've got Sarr already. We don't need another runner in that midfield. Sarr rarely gets injured. Gallagher already get injured. We're getting two of the exact same player. I completely get that. We need a passer, and that is the issue of Gallagher completely.
Who else would we buy now in January? Like realistically, like who is like the 60, 70, 80 million pound
Well,
player who would come to us now?
I'm afraid Tottenham have got a world class scouting board, and they say, and they use all this data. They should be getting us this top midfielder who's going to do really, really well. You know, this is honestly coming on this stream. The first thing I heard, Conor Gallagher. You know, I haven't had time to put who I'd rather, but look, I there must be someone out there because this is just today. This has come out. This is like Morgan Gibbs White in the summer. You know, he'd have been good for us.
Can I just say, Phil? So that statement of like, but it's January. Who can we sign to come in? I love that statement, and I'm not saying it to you. I'm saying I love that statement because I'm tired of hearing that statement because we often have to use our January transfer windows as silver bullets at this football club because they fail to do what they need to do in the summer every single season without fail. And then when it gets to January, you see that player that we needed in the summer that we still need in January. Oh, we can't sign that player in January because the market is too inflated. Oh, clubs don't want to sell. I'm fed up with it. You make your bed, you lie in it. You didn't sign that profile in the summer, so you knew what was going to happen with the team. Now we're in January. Don't tell it, not you, the club. Don't tell us you cannot go and sign that profile midfielder. Either you go out and you put the serious money down and overpay. I don't give a shit at this point. Overpay because we need it. Or you use this amazing pool of data analysts and world-class facilities that we keep hearing. Everything is data-led. We keep hearing this, and yet they keep serving us mediocre players. They keep serving us mediocre players with a dash of good players. I'm sick and tired of it.
Okay, thank you. You've all made some really good points there, but Dustin, you haven't had the chance to say anything yet. So firstly, thank you for your patience. You've got a lot to get your teeth into there. So talk to me before we move on, your thoughts on Conor Gallagher. And I've also got a graphic on screen here, which is kind of the Conor Gallagher scouting report. So if you want to get your teeth into that as well.
To say I echo a lot of what Tobs has said. We don't know what the end of the window is. We don't know, who we have signed by the end of the window. But as a first signing, it is a disappointing first signing because it may well be a recognition that what we see, central ball progression being a problem, is not what Frank sees and not what the scouts or whoever's doing signings. It seems they don't see it as a priority. And that would be the biggest worry because then it means that we're going to continue to see an over-reliance on wing play and winning balls back in the opponent's third as our chance creation. We saw in the Villa game what central ball progression does. They cut us apart with 4 passes through the middle instantly and we were destroyed, right? So when we did create a chance, it was from, however much we want to take positivity from the second half. The second half chances came from winning balls in their third and then Villa being out of position because we disrupted them in build-up, which is good, but it is not an attacking pattern of play. It is something you cannot rely on. But our attacking patterns of play are winning balls back from the opponent before they're in position, or vertical balls down the wing. And we continue to not prioritize central ball progression. And our first signing, being a player with 31st percentile in progressive passes, is an issue. I have another thing called corner radar, which is, you know, his player traits. If you want to put that up, Harry, and that is basically his chances created is, you know, 37%, right? So I think the main problem is what we identify as a core problem with our build-up play, which is we don't progress the ball down the center. And if we do have a ball progressor down the center, it's only Xavi. It's not a team of players that can do that. We already have a midfield that is very unbalanced in terms of their skill set. The thing about Paulinho is that he's a great destroyer to have if then you say that the other midfielders with him can do a combination of things. They can put in a bit of a defensive shift, but
agree
they
with
can
this.
also progress the ball down the center, right? Progressing down the ball down the center, either through line breaking passes or carrying or being able to play one touch quick interplay, that is the key to being better down the center of the park. But because we already have a Paulinho, which is a very single purpose kind of midfielder, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I'm saying that if you have him there, he's maxed out stats on destroying, not so good stats on creating. You then need two midfielders that can overcome the lack of central ball progression through passing and creativity. That means that you are limited in the kinds of midfielders you can sign because very few midfielders can do both. There are very few, like, you know, Caicedos out there, for example. So because you have a destroyer that has limited passing creativity, then you're forced to okay, our other midfielders need to be able to do all these other things, and they're rare and expensive. Whereas if you don't max out on defensive stats and have more players that can do multiple things, then you're not so hobbled by who you can sign and who you can have on the field at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Some really good points there. Let's move on then from Conor Gallagher for now and move into the Aston Villa review because it did end 2-1 to Villa. I mean, Spurs are out of the third round of the FA Cup. Very briefly, I want to mention the lineup for people who didn't see it because Tottenham went strong for Cairo in goal. Porro right back, Davis left back, Danso and Van der Ven as the centre backs. Arthur Romero close to the game picked up a one-match suspension and a fine. Paulinho, Gray and Simmons in midfield and a front three of Odobert, Tell and Richarlison. Charlie, starting with you, when that lineup come out, an hour and a bit before the game, what were your thoughts on it? Were you surprised to see us go that strong? I mean, Thomas Frank did say in his press conference that, he would want to go strong because he wants to win the FA Cup. Of course, that doesn't look good now, but the point is that he went strong.
I mean, I wasn't surprised at all that he went strong because at the end of the day, we're doing really poor in the league. I mean, we said last night on our debate, Harry, we're realistically not going to win the Champions League. I mean, I dream of it and I'm not going to rule it out. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to believe. Oh, we've just got the here we go for Conor Gallagher. But we're not on that anymore. We've just done that. I'm not surprised. I think it was a good team, but, the game's over now. Disappointing we lost, and if we want to be winning these cups, we've got to put in stronger teams. How are we going to get stronger teams? Sign better players. That's just all I've got to say on the lineup. I think also before we get into the next bit, obviously this is going to come up in the next section. Second half was great. I love watching it. I mean, at first my TV put on no signal. I'm thinking, this is a sign. Don't watch second half, and I doom scrolled for a little bit. Then I saw we scored. I put it back on, and we were playing really good football. I thought. But just, you have a first half that bad, that disappointing, that not good enough. And and then second half you come back and you're thinking, this will be better. But it's not better at all, is it? Think a few years ago, United versus Liverpool. And it's 5-0 at half time at Old Trafford. You've got fans leaving the stadium. It's awful. And second half, there were no goals, but Ronaldo did score a goal that was ruled out, and it was a very tight offside. You know, do you think United fans were coming out of that game going, that second half was really, really good. I was really, really happy. No, they're going, we just lost 5-0 to Liverpool. That first half was absolutely shocking. You know, you can't just say the second half was good. We lost the game of football and we were awful in that first half. That second half does not make me forgive what happened in that first half, because Villa took us apart. We deserved to be knocked out. All right, it's a joke. It's a disgrace. And at the end of the day, lineups, you want stronger teams. You want to sit here and talk about the lineups. We got to sign stronger players. That's the only criticism I have, because out of the players Thomas Frank has, you know, I can't ask us to sign the best players in the world on the spot, you know, or you know, it's going to take years to become an attractive club to have players want to join Tottenham. Obviously, we did win the Europa League, which, you know, did a bit for us. And I didn't think we had a bad window in the summer. We've got to sign better players. It's as simple as that.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've discussed the lineup. Then let's get into the action, because in the 22nd minute, the first goal of the game went to the visitors in Aston Villa through Emi Buendia, who loves a goal against Tottenham, assisted by Donnell Marlin. Dustin, if I come to you, what were your thoughts on this goal? Could it have been prevented?
The goal can be prevented. It requires players to be very switched on. But I think basically it's one of those things where Villa have rehearsed a lot what their central ball progression looks like, you know. And the thing about doing that is you are very good at creating passing options for your teammates. You're very good at doing one-touch passes. You're very rehearsed in not specific automations or set ways of building up, but set ways of the players thinking about space, thinking about off-the-ball movement, thinking about where they're running to. And that to me is why I think it's an important skill for us to master, because it means that you use the entire width of the pitch. It means that you are not restricted to being pushed outside when you try to develop play on the flanks. So Villa being able to split us apart with 4 passes. The thing about through passes, right, and the reason why I talk about central ball progression so much is that when there's a through pass, the definition is a ball going between multiple opponents. When the ball goes through multiple opponents, those are 2 players you've taken out of the position. And they are no longer relevant to play because the play has passed them by. That's why line breaking balls matter. So if we talk about how, you know, this season, it seems like Van der Ven's a much better player than Romero this season. But why is that? One of Romero's specialties is through balls down the center. But if we don't no longer prioritize that, you know, we've taken a big part of what Romero's attacking contribution was, which is to be able to progress the play as a ball-playing midfielder, bring it to midfield, meaning that he has only half of the field in which to progress play, and there's a shorter distance. He plays good through passes into the middle with players that can run into the space, can anticipate, can play one-touch play, and then we receive the ball in the middle of the opponent's half and the center where the goal is. But if we don't prioritize that, right now Romero's contribution is, you know, defensive and, you know, winning headers in corners. So we've reduced one of the best ball playing centre backs in the world to being our set piece. You know, he goes to the far post and hits it back into the penalty box. So you've taken, like, it's a waste. It's a criminal waste of one of the best ball playing centre backs in the world. That's my big issue with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Tobs had to jump. We thank him very much for having him on. It's been a few months before he has come on, so thank you. And of course, being part of, you know, intense and, you know, fiery little conversations and debates there. Of course, you know, good entertainment for the viewers, let's just say. But thank you very much, Philip. Can I ask you about, you know, something else in the game? Because in the 31st minute, Richarlison come off injured. I mean, right now, I think we're going to need a whole different training ground for all these players injured, just to base them there and, you know, continue rehabilitation. But not very good, is it? You know, hopefully Richarlison's okay. It always seems to be when he's playing all right or having a good season.
Yeah, I mean, he is a bit injury prone over the last X amount of years, isn't he? Like, he seems to need to be fully match fit, like fully fit to be able to deliver his performances. I've often seen Richarlison kind of play games when he's not fully fit and he just looks off it straight away. So I'm a bit worried about that. But look, I mean, we need him at the moment in terms of just having a fit player in there, right? Who can kind of play up front and be busy, or play over on the left. You know, Colin Moani, to be honest, you know, he's blowing hot and cold at the moment. In my opinion, he's still not fully fit, I believe. Like, if I look at how he plays, if I look at how he runs, he's miles off how he was when he was at Frankfurt, when I watched him for a season here in the stadium. He doesn't look as fit. He doesn't look as fast. But I think, as we discussed about Moani, it's a different point anyway. Like, is his head here? I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with him. But like with Richie, has there been any update on his injury status, on his scans? I haven't seen anything on Richie, really.
I've seen an update probably
week
on every other player other than Richarlison.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
So I don't know. But look, it was good to see Dom come off the bench. Obviously, it was a bit of probably a surprise, I think, to everyone to see him kind of, you know, with the squad and come out. Got a few minutes, which is good as well. So it's going to take him a bit of time as well. But probably at the weekend against West Ham, unless Richie is miraculously fit again, I'd assume that Moani's going to have to lead the line up front, and, you know, maybe Dom will get some more minutes as well. But I also assume that we'll sell Richarlison in the summer. You know, I wanted him sold ideally, you know, last summer. Realistically, we wouldn't have sold him now in January anyways. And if he's injured now, it's not going to happen. But I would imagine that we'll move him on in the summer. Again, he's a busy player. He's someone who's played across different teams in the Premier League. He's not a top 6 player, you know, for a team that's kind of aspiring to qualify for the Champions League and play at Champions League level and qualify for the Champions League every season. He's not on that level. And I think we can still get a good fee for him. So I'd assume that depending on how bad his injury is, I don't know. We'll have to see how many games he plays for us in the end. But maybe it fast tracks a bit more minutes for Dom. Hopefully, as you know, he doesn't get a recurrence of his foot injury. But you know, at least he's back, right? And if he's kind of playing minutes and he's in the squad, then he's obviously fit enough to do that. So maybe it just means that we ease him in a bit more, you know, over the next X amount of games. Although it is Champions League, you know, we've got the 2 big Champions League games as well. So
we've got to win those.
Yeah, we do. We have to win both of them. Ideally, I think a win and a draw is probably okay, but really we want to try and win both.
That top 8, there are teams in there. I mean, I think we've already qualified for the playoff, so we're through, but we want to get to that round of 16. We don't want those extra games.
Yeah, agreed. But we need to be the home game against Dortmund.
I'm going to be cheering them on. No Frank out. You know, cheer that team on. No boos that game. We've got to get behind them. Like
Good
last
Odo
in the Frankfurt game, you know. I get in the Premier League when we're playing so awful and there's nothing you can do except boo because you want to show some, you know, how disappointed you are. And I just want to roll the players up. You know, if I hear them booing, another player, I'll be thinking, oh, you want to boo me? I'm going to show you how good I am in the second half and you won't be booing at full time. You'll be clapping. All right, and I'll be going around at the end of the day and I'll be clapping and I'll be saying to my teammate, they're all booing at half time and now they're all clapping. They're a bunch of hypocrites. And you know what? If they want to say that, that's fine. But if they get those 3 points, I do not care what they think about us supporters. We win Premier Leagues. If they hate us, they hate us. We get a title. We get a parade. We get one over the Arsenal. It's amazing when you're winning and you're winners. And you know, winning that Europa League was great. And brilliant. And just, you know, I don't care. I want to win. That's it. Winning it's the love of the game. The game is about glory. To dare is to do.
Love that. I wish more people were, you know, like you, Charlie, and very, very positive. I mean, I thought I was positive, but that's another level. Love it. You know, really do appreciate that. And I'm totally agree with you in terms of just generally anyway, glass half full. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not in a great place right now, but I think it's fine margins that cost Tottenham and very quickly, a couple of wins and really, you know, easily in a much healthier position. Thank you very much. Dustin, can I ask you about the Morgan Rogers goal, which made it 2-0 Villa? We got 5 minutes of additional time in that first half, and he scored in the 3rd minute of it. It felt a significant moment in the game. It does now, looking back, but it did also at the time, where you look at that and go, if Tottenham going just one behind at half time, it could have been a different story in the second half. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. But again, it's one of those things where it's central ball progression from Villa again, even though it came from the flank, right? Because of central ball progression, they pulled our defenders all to the center, and that resulted in them having someone on the right flank completely free. And it's also a note about Villa's variety in their build-up play compared to ours. We spam a deep cross from Poro, or we have a Kudus cutback, or we have Odebear on the left wing crossing or doing a cutback. What we do is we spam a cross or a cutback into a packed box, where every defense in the Premier League knows that's what we do, and that's why a lot of our chances get cut out or headed away by centre backs. What they did was they passed it into, not right into the middle of the packed box, but into someone that could do a back heel to an on-running box crasher. So the variety in build-up play means that teams don't have a recipe for stopping you. And that's why Villa's goal, it felt the way Villa was playing was the way we used to play. And that's the part that bothers me the most about the way we progress the ball and the way that we have now become a cross-spamming team and set-piece FC versus, push and run to theirs to do, break teams down. We have better wingers than you. We have better dribblers. We have better passes. And it's not the way we play now.
Okay, thank you. And Dustin, do you think, you mentioned how Villa played there? Assume you think that Villa had control maybe of that first half? I mean, not the first half to remember for Spurs, maybe some familiar signs of what we've seen in recent weeks. Would that be fair to say?
It was one of the worst first halves we've seen, and that's saying something considering that we actually had shots on targets in this first half. But the way that we were torn apart by Villa, and not even their first choice, right? They didn't even have Watkins on the field. They didn't even have Tielemans until Kamara got injured. So it says a lot that they were able to rotate, be ahead by 2 goals, surrendered possession to us in the second half. And then, when they were under the cosh and we scored that goal, they were like, okay, we'll bring our first choice. We'll bring our first choice striker on now and close the game out. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Philip, coming to you onto the second half. It was a better second half, I think it's fair to say, overall. But before we get into that, 54th minute, Wilson Odebear got the goal, assisted by Rando Kailamwani. I mean, it's a really nicely taken goal, isn't it, from Odebear? One that will silence his doubters for now.
It was a nicely worked goal, full stop. I think Mwani did really well, actually, to kind of win the ball. He was quite physical. And then he got away from his player in midfield, kind of pretty much. And then slipped it over, and the pass into Odebear was good. And he finished it really well. And I was saying in a couple of chats at the time, I can't remember the last time. I mean, it was a pretty simple goal, right, in terms of how it was, played and scored. But I can't remember the last time that we actually scored a goal like that, where we just kind of slip a player in, and they take, one touch and kind of finish it, bottom corner. I honestly can't remember the last time we scored a simple goal like that. So it was good. It came at a good time. Odebear and Tell actually both looked really lively in that game in their different roles. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, at half time, it was like, disaster, World War III kind of feeling, like literally there was nothing there in terms of what we'd offered up in that first half. The way it was going, mirror that first half, it could have been 4-0, 5-0. The game. So I was pleasantly surprised to actually see us come out with energy, right? And, running around and actually pressing, which we didn't do in the first half at all. I'd like to know, honestly, like what the background to that change was, whether it was a Thomas Frank kind of, verbal rocket let's say at the players to kind of, just go out there and give it your all, right? Otherwise you're going out the cup, or whether he changed things slightly tactically, which I don't think so. But, there was a lot of kind of other people and rumours saying that, look, maybe the players just went out there in the second half and just said, look, we need to change something here. We need to try and, stay in this cup competition. It's our last realistic chance of winning something kind of this season, being fully realistic, let's say, or at least like have a chance of doing it. And, maybe the players just kind of like took the shackles off a bit, because, Odderburton's hell at the beginning of that second half, they were playing quite centrally as well. There was actually a lot of progressive passing coming through the centre for the first time. So look, I mean, however it happened, it was nice to see, because we haven't seen that too often. Why can't we play two halves like that? Why can't we come out in the first half and actually start the game with that energy and pressing? But again, was the pressing meant? Like, did we plan to press? And in the first half, did we plan to sit off like Thomas Frank actually likes to play? So be interested to be a fly on the wall and actually really understand the background to what actually kind of happened there. But it was nice to see. And
Philip, do you mind if I interject?
Chance, right? Yeah.
Sorry, Philip, do you mind if I interject for a second?
Yeah.
I would like to point out, and I maybe in an attempt to answer this, right? The reason I believe it's the players going off script somewhat and playing centrally is because the last time we saw something like that was when we went down to 10 men against Liverpool, which is like, there's chaos that's happening. Players are under duress and they kind of like take things into their own hands, because like the script has flipped. We are now a man down. And during the Liverpool game, we also saw a lot more central progression. We also saw a lot more one-touch passing down the center, which, I'm not in the dressing room, I don't know. But what I see is when we are settled in possession and Frank ball is wing progression. But when we do see snatches of central progressive play, and it's not to say we can't do it, there have been times where we've done it, but we don't do it with any regularity, and we don't seem to do it as an intention, which is why when I see central progressive play like that, I don't think, Frank has finally instilled that. I think the players have taken it into their own hands, because the last time I saw it was when things got chaotic in Liverpool, when we were down to 10 men.
Okay, interesting. Philip, thank you initially, and Dustin, thank you for saying your piece there. Charlie, I'll come to you. What were your thoughts on that second half? I assume you think it was chalk and cheese from the first half. And who stood out to you as well? Who were your standout individuals after the game had finished?
Well, I think second half was really, really good, but I want to come on to the halftime team talk quickly. Obviously, I don't know what's going on in that room. I'm not in there. I'd love to know what's going on. At the same time, I wouldn't know, because I wouldn't want the press to know, and I wouldn't want them roasting Thomas Frank. Because as much as I want him to get sacked, I still support Tottenham. I still want us to do well. And this is something people I think are missing. They're like, "Oh, you want Frank out?" And then I go into the school the next day, and my friends go, "Oh, lose again." I go, "I know." But, I've heard rumours that he's lost the ball, and a lot of the players are thinking that Frank's waiting now to get the sack. He's, he's expecting it. But, the next two games are huge. If we can win those, are very winnable games. West Ham and Burnley, who I think are like 12 games winless. Very winnable games. 6 points. We can shoot right at the table. I think, is it Man City after that? And, we always find a way to pull off a shock against Man City. Why can't we do that again? And then, there's 9 points there. I thought we were going to get 12 points out of the last 4 Premier League games. We only got 5. Very disappointing. Not good enough. One of the reasons I'm very much against Thomas Frank. But, the players I think are against him. And are they conducting the team talk? Have you got players like Van de Ven, who's the captain for that game? Going, the boys, come on. Like we said, this is the only shot we've got this season at winning something. Let's go out in this second half and let's win this game. Let's go to the next round of the cup. Let's go on a cup run. Let's win the FA Cup. Maybe that happened, because now 2 weeks in a row we got knocked out by Villa. Second half was a real big change. I think defensively we look much better. Although since Thomas Frank, we have looked good defensively. But you asked me, Harry, a standout player. João Palhinha. Oh, I love that guy. He's so good. And this is another reason I'm so against Thomas Frank. Because why are you starting Bentancur over him? We were saying it earlier with the Conor Gallagher thing. A squad player. Bentancur is your squad player. I don't want to see him starting every week. I want to see Palhinha starting every week because he wins challenges. He is a brilliant, brilliant player. I love João Palhinha.
Didn't he show he cared at the end as well? Squaring up with Morgan Rogers, squaring up with Watkins
what's he
initially.
doing? Yeah, we won right in his face. Palhinha should have punched him. He blooming deserved it. I tell you that. Shocking behaviour from Ollie Watkins. Second half, a real fight. But like I said about the lineups, you want to come here and talk about how great the second half was. At the end of the day, we lost the game of football because the first half was so bad. That first half is unforgivable. There is nothing that will make me forgive that first half. We're now out the FA Cup. It's been so long since we won that competition. It's been too long. The teams who have won it since we last won it, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is stupidity. Yeah. It is stupid. It is not right. It is not Tottenham. I'm not happy about it. And now we're out of it again this season. We go again next season. The comment on the board, I completely agree. We needed Palhinha for so long. And obviously earlier Tobs was saying that we need a progressive passer. We didn't sign Palhinha to be a progressive passer. We signed him to be that holding midfielder in front of that defence who wins challenges, who protects them, and he does that. But why? Oh, let's just start Bentancur. What good does he do? He does nothing like Palhinha. He is nowhere near as good as João Palhinha. It's just not right. I'm sorry. He's playing every single week. He's such a good player. We should buy him now. 27 million is a bargain. He's better than so many players in the Premier League. He's one of the best midfielders. I love him. He wins the ball. He's absolutely brilliant. And look, he is the standout player. Odegaard will be scoring a goal. Van de Ven made some very good challenges. So hopefully, it wasn't bad that second half, but first half unforgivable. Unforgivable first half.
Okay, Charlie, thank you. Dustin, if I was to say to you that my standout individuals personally in the game were Xavi Simons, he'd be up there, Matthias Tell, Mickey van der Ven, João Palhinha. Would you agree with that?
For sure. I would say that for Matthias Tell, considering the few minutes that he's got,
Peter out.
The few minutes that Matthias Tell has got, he did a lot down the left wing. And Alderbeir's contribution, I've been banging the drum about Alderbeir for a while, and he showed it with a goal this time. But in all the previous games, whenever we've had a spark, whenever we had some creativity, it's been Alderbeir, especially because we had been overplaying Kudus to the point that now we know he's injured, right? The other point I'd make about Palhinha is that because so much of our progressive play, not progressive play, but our attacking patterns come from winning the ball from Villa. That's where he was critical in disrupting play, and even if he doesn't win the ball, he forces a rush pass that one of our other players can win the ball from. And a lot of the chances that we got in the second half were from disrupting Villa and not letting them get into a rhythm, hemming us into our own half. It's by disrupting them and winning the ball before they were settled. That's how we create the chances. And that's great. It's not an attacking pattern of play, but when you need to disrupt the opponent, Palhinha is the man for the job.
Yeah, he's so good.
Thank you very much. I personally think that Matthias Tell as well has impressed me, in recent games. I think he's got a lot better. Philip, just very briefly, the thought of Matthias Tell going out on loan, we've got to keep him, haven't we?
If Matthias Tell goes out on loan, then I'll be devastated. I'll be devastated. I was actually quite angry yesterday and the day before, I guess, about Matthias Tell and Frank, because I was kind of analysing again his games. I went back and looked at some highlights and stuff of Matthias Tell when he actually played. And whenever he's played this season, he's looked dangerous, whatever he's done. When he's come off the bench, he's made things happen. He's been very energetic, but he's actually been in the right positions, and I think it is, in retrospect, looking back, pretty bad that Thomas Frank hasn't played him that often. There was a massive run of games where he didn't even get any minutes, even come on as a sub, right? When before that he was good. He wasn't even selected in the Champions League squad. originally, you know, which must have been a bit of a hammer blow to him as well. Like, if he gets loaned out now, then honestly, you know, that will annoy me more than, you know, how annoyed that, you know, Tobs was about the, you know, the potential signing of Gallagher. Like literally, I'll be
I think he wants to see Gallagher at the club. I think he's really keen to see him.
Exactly. But look, people forget as well, though, right? We signed Tell. You know, he's still only, is he 19, I think? Or 20?
19, 20, yeah.
19, 20. He played like 50 games for Bayern, including sub appearances, but he started a lot of games. You know, like, the fact is that Tell is still viewed as a massive, massive talent in Europe. And he's got all the attributes to be successful. He's a confidence player as well, I think. So for me, Tell has to play it. Like, looking at our options on the left anyways, obviously, I know that we lost Kudus and we sold Johnson, so potentially maybe a proper right winger is even more important than a left winger at the moment, arguably. At least we've got another left back coming now, and Udogi's fit, right, to give that balance on the left. But for me, looking at what we have at the moment, Tell needs to be playing every single... If he's fit, Tell needs a proper run of games on the left. Just play him. He needs to get his confidence up. He needs to get even more match fit, and he will make things happen. So look, I really like Matis Tell. And at the moment, I think he's clearly our best option on the left. And I would love to see him play there with Udogi, you know, once he returns properly, which I believe... I think Udogi might play against West Ham, to be honest. I think he might be back for that.
That's a good shout. And Philip, also quickly on Simmons. I mean, I personally think that's the best I've seen him in a Spurs shirt.
Sorry, Harry,
Yeah,
quickly, at Into Spurs, loving the comments. They're making me feel really, really happy. Go subscribe, because I need the subscribers. Sorry, I hate to do that.
That's all right. Come on, Philip.
Simmons, exactly. He was excellent. Yeah, I mean, he played well. Look, again, he looked energetic. You know, like when he got the ball and was kind of dribbling. You know, he was kind of running. He was running away from players. You know, or at least keeping that gap. You know, it wasn't like he was getting like caught up. You know, like dribbling with the ball. Like, he made things happen. He got out of some kind of little tight areas. And look, you know, Xavi, he's a bit of a grafter as well, actually, when you look at him play. You know, he likes to get stuck in, he likes to win the ball back. Yeah, like, really good. He had something to prove, didn't he, as well, probably after kind of being banned, you know, missing a few games. But again, hopefully he can just stay fit. I think he's going to be massive in the 2 Champions League games against German opposition. Obviously, Xavi knows all the players, right, from Dortmund and Frankfurt, pretty much, right? He's played against them the last couple of years when he was at Leipzig, and I think he's going to be one of our key players, and we're going to need him to be fully on it in the Champions League games. I think against West Ham, well, we hope he's going to be on it as well, but I think less so. If we can't beat West Ham in their current state at home at the moment, then you'd have to, even if Xavi didn't play, you'd have to, again, you know, be very, very critical of what we're doing, what Thomas Frank's doing.
Philip, thank you very much. Got to run and got to finish this up. So just want to end, because we talked about a lot with Frank in the last few weeks. So just with a simple question, and that is, would you, if it's down to you, want to see Thomas Frank in charge or not for that West Ham game? I think we're all in agreement that he probably will take charge of that game against West Ham, especially with the news about Conor Gallagher. I think that kind of confirms that. So the question is literally, do you want to see Thomas Frank in charge for West Ham or not? So yes or no. Charlie, I'll start with you. Frank in charge in the dugout at West Ham. Do you want to see that? Yes or no?
I mean, if you want my full dive into Thomas Frank, you're going to see that video at 12:30 tomorrow.
Yes,
so go check that out. That is honestly, I love filming that. That was so good. So go check that out. But look, one word answer. I've gone on a bit here. You said we've got to wrap up. No, I'm Thomas Frank out. But like I said, that does not mean I don't want us to win. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be cheering on the team. I want to see us get the next load of points. I want to do another video, Harry, where I'm like, you know, I hold my hands up, Frank. You've proven me wrong. Do I think you'll prove me wrong? No. Do I think we're going to win against West Ham? Yes. West Ham are awful. They got Nuno. We saw how bad Nuno was. Do I want him in charge? No. Look, I have a dream, but my dream, what I really want to happen, it's not going to happen. You know, my dream was in the Champions League. You know, I want Ange to come back. He's never coming back. They're not going to go back to Ange after finishing 17th. You know, maybe it is the best thing we give him to the end of the season. Ryan Mason just sacked from West Brom. Yeah, I don't know, but look, I'm Frank out. I want Poch back in the summer. Simple as that. Do I want him in charge of West Ham? Yeah, I mean, right now, I think you may as well give him that game because I think it would be a bit harsh if someone just came in now. You know, they haven't got long to work with the players. You know, Frank's been there now for a couple of months. You know, maybe he can get a few points on the board. And that's what matters. You know, like I said, I don't want another season outside of Europe. I want to be in Europe. Yeah, I've got to look. Do I want him in charge for this game? No, I don't. I want a new manager. No.
Okay. Charlie, thank you very much. Philip, do you want to see him in the dugout or not Saturday in the London Derby? Yes or no? What do you reckon, Philip?
If we could get if we could persuade Xabi Alonso
Yes.
to
Just left
join
Real
this
Madrid.
week because he's left them a couple of hours ago, then no. I regardless of what whether the board's holding on to Frank or not, like if there's we have to at least have a conversation with Xabi Alonso or his agents, right? Honestly, I know we don't know the background, we don't know everything else. It's very unrealistic, probably, or unlikely that he's going to be interested right now. But we need to have that conversation at least with people around Xabi Alonso just to see what the deal is, right? Regardless, you have to. If someone like that's coming available, he's like
just
that,
had a massive payout. Why would you want to come to Tottenham Hotspur, who sit
probably not
in the Premier League?
Probably not, but there is still an element that
I agree.
You know,
I agree. We should have that conversation because he's a top coach. He proved it at Leverkusen. I'm not sure if I'd like the back three. I mean, I'm willing to give it a chance. Like I said, you know, I don't control what happens at the club. I'm not with the club. You know, I'm a fan. I come on here, I give my view. But you know, we'll see what they can do. I'll give him a chance. Exactly. He's a top coach and he's proved it. You know, he coached Real Madrid. He coached Real Madrid. He's a huge success.
Tottenham would be the ideal job for him, though. To be honest,
I can see that.
When he took them over and he kind of transformed them. You know, it would be a very good. He's probably going to end up being the Liverpool manager at some point in the future, I would imagine. But anyways, probably unrealistic this week. Anyways, let's see. But I don't see any alternative to not having Thomas Frank on. You know, like I don't see any alternative to Thomas Frank at the moment for West Ham. Like I assume he's going to be there. I right now, and I've said this over the last kind of couple of weeks. I have been Thomas Frank in the whole time, right, this season since when we appointed him. It was in the last kind of couple of weeks where I've started having doubts about it because the way that he's playing, the way that he's setting up, the way, you know, that this lack of progression, you know, some of the tactical decisions, you know, the strikers, the lack of trying a back three, the lack of playing a left footer on the left if we've got Davies back fit, which he was before, you know, resting Porro. There's a lot of open questions for me, with the caveat that, of course, we've got all the injuries and everything else to the creative players. But I'm tending a bit more now to Thomas Frank out. But I'm also realistic that, you know, there's not really that many options out there. And realistically, we would hire a new manager in the summer anyways. And I'm not sure that we would be able to hire someone who would come in as an interim, who would clearly give us almost like a guarantee of improving us. But if we lose the games, if we lose to West Ham, if we lose to Dortmund at home, then he's gone. And to be honest, if he loses to West Ham, he might be gone anyways.
No, West Ham, that'll be the final straw. They are awful.
If he loses there, he's gone. If he loses at home to West Ham, the stadium will be. It's been toxic anyways, but that stadium will be.
That will be.
I don't even want to hear it.
It will be. Okay, thank you. Dustin, do you want to see Frank in charge for West Ham, London Derby, and do you think he will, you know, be removed from his post if we lose that game somehow?
Somehow they're that bad.
I don't think he'll be removed from his post. Or if he is removed from his post after we've literally signed Conor Gallagher for him, then the rot is extremely bad, right? Because Conor Gallagher is 100% a Thomas Frank signing. So if we're continuing to sign players for him, if you remove him after that, then there's no joined up thinking at the club whatsoever. The entire time that I've been asked this question, I've always said, you don't sack a manager unless you have a better manager to replace him. That has always been my stance, and my stance has always been there are many, many problems that are above the pay grade of the manager, and it's actually the club hierarchy, the lack of director of football, and all of that. So I've not been frank in or out. I've been keep the manager in his place because you need to give him time, you need to support him, you need to give him signings, everything. There is one exception for this. When your existing players, which is your captain, your goal line clearing, your Europa League goal line clearing hero, when they are looking to leave the club because they're done with how it's being played, then that's when you cut the manager rather than lose those players. And we've seen those rumors come out now. We've not seen this before. We now see rumors about players looking to actively leave the club. And that is one of the only times that I support removing a manager, because you can't lose your most important players, because the rebuild becomes even larger then. So the whole point for keeping a manager is keep the stability, don't throw the club into flux. If we lose Van der Ven and Romero, the club is in flux anyway. So you do what you need to keep those players, because if we sell Romero and Van der Ven, how much will their replacement cost? And will we buy a $80 million defender? We will not. We will buy a 30-year-old. We will buy a 30 million 18-year-old, and that's the replacement for Romero and Van der Ven. So you do what you need to keep them. It will not be a permanent manager. It will probably be an interim until the World Cup clears, because a lot of managers are tied up with World Cup teams, a lot of the good prospects. So if you're going to have an interim manager, it's got to be a vibes manager that gets players playing football they love again. And while Redknapp hasn't been managing for a long time, Redknapp is the ideal manager because he can go there, when I coach Modric and Bale in the Champions League, that's the kind of manager that you can have in for short term, for vibes. He said he'll do it for free, and then you go for the permanent manager in the summer.
Okay. Thank you to all of you.
Before we wrap up, Dustin, you said Conor Gallagher, Thomas Frank signing. Do you think maybe, this could be a sign from Mauricio Pochettino? He loved Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. Is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know? Is Mauricio Pochettino carrying back in the summer? He is out of contract. Right now, there is nothing, Tottenham can get fined for or get in trouble for tapping up Mauricio Pochettino and saying, look, the job's open, what do you want? And he said, look, he said he's keeping his promise to USA. We can still speak to him.
He twerks for us every interview he gets.
Yeah, exactly. I think this could be I don't think this. Maybe we do not know what's going on behind the scenes. We talk all this stuff, all this rubbish. At the end of the day, we don't know 1% of what's going on behind the scenes. Fabrizio Romano, who knows everything, and David Ornstein, they don't even know 5% of what's going on. They just know who's getting signed. Right? If they knew this stuff, they'd be posting about it, but they don't. It's all so secret. So we can talk all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on. And we can talk, give our opinion. That's fine. I love doing that. That's why I'm here, to give my opinion. But we don't know what's going on. And I just see this as a possible hint to Mauricio Pochettino, who loved Conor Gallagher at Chelsea, and saying, look, he's open. Go get me Conor Gallagher. And the board have gone, yep, sure. Just saying. It's not nothing wrong with that. And I could be, barking up the wrong tree and going completely off. But I'm just saying.
Okay, thank you very much for making the point. Go on, Dustin.
So I think that as managers go, I don't know how Poch's tactics stand up to current managers, but at this moment, the decision for the next manager, to be frank, is not tactical. It's about uniting the fan base. We've been divided ever since he left. The last time we were really united as a fan base was last season at the Lane. Right, that shot of Poch looking on with pride as you have the shot of him in the screen in the background. That's the last time we really felt pride. We had it for a short moment at the Europa League, parade.
Yeah.
Right, but in terms of moments that have unified the fan base, it's those two moments. So his name will come up whenever we have a manager in strife, and at some point it will happen anyway. we're at a low ebb now. Expectations have possibly never been lower. So if there's a time to come in, the only manager that will actually have the patience of the fan base would probably be him, regardless of whether tactically he's still at the level to help us compete or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlie.
Agreed.
Thank you for making that point, and thank you all on your thoughts with Thomas Frank, and appreciate it all for tonight as well, because that wraps us up for this episode of the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Thank you very much. Unexpected news of Conor Gallagher. Here we go to Tottenham in there. Talked about Thomas Frank's future and reviewed the Aston Villa game. Should come back for the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast on Thursday, 7 p.m, because we're previewing our next game, West Ham London derby, and it's nice to just play one game this week, so focus on that one, hopefully recover, rest, and go ready again with what is a depleted squad through injuries. Charlie, firstly, thank you very much for coming on. Please do plug your socials, and of course 12:30 p.m. tomorrow, the frank debate on my YouTube channel between me and you will be out, and here is a little glimpse here of the thumbnail to give people an idea, so it is a good one. So
What a thumbnail. That is brilliant.
we go.
Honestly, when I saw that earlier, I was just like, wow, it's brilliant. Back
stuff,
or
but-
sack.
Tell people about your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, Charlie Pisani, my name is there, so you can see it. Tottenham Matchday Vlogs. I tell you what, I'm expanding it next season. I'm making more videos. I haven't, since I've started it, I've only shown my experience going to the games, interviewing fans like my dad and my granddad. But I want to make it more. I look at what you're doing, Harry, and I admire it. How many videos you make, the news you share. If I want the latest Tottenham news, I come here, and I want to be something like that. Harry, I completely admire your channel. And yeah, go hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna start on TikTok next year as well. I know you can get a lot from that as well. So yeah, a lot of viewers. I'm not in this for anything else. I want to get my opinion out there. I want to be heard. I wanna have an impact. I want fans to see my opinion. I want fans to talk about. They see it. They think, yeah, that's a very good opinion. They go talk about other people, and that's what I want ultimately. I want Tottenham fans, as Dustin said, to be united. I want to say one thing on that as well quickly. I know I'm supposed to plug myself here and we're wrapping up, but we were united at that Europa League, and in that parade when Ange goes, Season 3 is better than Season 2, I didn't hear one fan go, no, we're going to have Ange next season. No, they all cheered. They went, yeah, go Ange. So yeah, but go subscribe to me. You do not know how much it helps. So I check my channel every single day, and if I've seen it's gone up a subscriber, I'm like, get in, new subscriber. If I see it's gone down, when I'm a bit like, oh, well, great. When I cheered, it was for nothing. But yeah, honestly, Harry, thank you so much for having me on. Make sure you check out that video tomorrow. I promise you, it's one of the greatest videos ever recorded on YouTube. So yeah, Harry, thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you. Keep up the amazing work. Love your positivity. I honestly really admire you. As you say, you admire me. I absolutely admire you. So thank you very much.
I'm not sure I'm so positive in the back or sack video. It's more get Thomas out, bring in Poch. Simple as that.
Well, the viewers have to check that out and see who they agree with. That is very true. But still, you were positive, I think, at parts throughout. But yeah, 12:30 p.m. on YouTube. Combined age, by the way, of both of us of just 31. So, got younger fans giving our thoughts there on Thomas Franks, because younger fans are the future of the club, ultimately. But Charlie, again, thank you so much. Please subscribe to his channel. Dustin, plug your socials. Thank you very much for coming on.
God, I'll need 3 of you to make up my age. Yeah. My socials is Luminor on X. I also have a YouTube series where I do tactical breakdowns. You've seen some of the slides. I'll also have a breakdown on the manager and what I think the next step should be, and also stuff around the club hierarchy. So check it out at this URL over here.
Dustin, thank you for joining from Singapore as well at such an early or late time, whatever way you look at it. Really do appreciate it in the early hours of the morning. Philip as well, big thanks to you coming from Frankfurt, Germany, really representing what I want the channel to be, getting Spurs fans involved all around the world and having their voice heard. Thank you for coming on. Where can people follow you on social media? Your cat's making an appearance there.
Yeah, she loves your channel. She always comes, especially for you,
We
Harry.
love her.
I'm mainly on X, I guess, until now, at Frankfurt Spurs. I tweet mainly about Spurs, obviously, and Eintracht Frankfurt sometimes, a bit about the Bundesliga. I'm also on the board of an official German supporters club here in Germany that we set up a couple of years ago. So we're finalising our plans for the Frankfurt game here in a couple of weeks, where there's going to be many thousands of great Spurs fans coming out here to Frankfurt. So again, to anyone watching this, if you want any tips, recommendations about Frankfurt, restaurants, bars, hotels, whatever, then just hit me up on X, send me a DM, or just add me as a contact, and I'll help you out. And I'm still threatening to start doing a bit more content on the Bundesliga. Harry, we do need to talk about that, huh? Do some collaboration there.
Yes.
So watch this space. Thanks for having me on, as always.
No, thank you to you three, or also four, including Tobs. Thank you to everyone that's listened, wherever you listen. Big up to you. Remain positive, remain faithful, back the team, and a massive comment you Spurs to end. See you next time.
Came along, just like a song.